Hello and welcome to FCBA 2021. We have seen a lot of changes in the last 1 year. All of us have been riding a wave called as the pandemic, which has made all of us think out of the box. It has done a lot of bad for the economy and society in general, but it has also come with a lot of good. It has at least made all the cooperative bankers digital savvy and also as savvy to meet each other without actually being present and seeing each other face to face physically, rather. And it is such a great development to note that everyone is today interacting in such an interesting forum without even physically being there. Welcome everyone to this fantastic mega conclave carnival of the cooperative banking industry, which we do every year and this year in a virtual format. And I am Babu Nair. I am the publisher of Banking Frontiers magazine. I would like to invite each one of you to this wonderful power packed session. We are going to talk about the future roadmap for the cooperative industry, and we have all the stalwarts who are the architects of this cooperative banking sector talking to us here and sharing what holds in the future for the sector. May I first introduce you to the entire panel. On this panel, the leading the panel is Mr. Jyotindra Mehta, who is the president of NAFCUB and a leader in the cooperative sector, who has been the chairman also of the Gujarat State Urban Cooperative Banks Federation. He has played pivotal roles in the Sahakar Bharati also. Along with him is Mr. V.S. Das, the former executive director of Reserve Bank of India, who is now playing a foundation role in setting up of the umbrella organization and a lot more interesting activities in the area of cooperative banking sector, being a pillar in education for the sector. We have Mr. D. Krishna, who has been the former CEO of NAFCUB, and he says, I will never let it go again. I will always be with the sector and I will keep contributing to the sector by my valuable thoughts. Thank you, Krishna ji, for architecting this very interesting conversation for all of us and showing your support as always. I have Mr. Raja Devnath with me, who is a very noted consultant in the area of banking. He has been with one of the big fives like Ernst and Young for quite some time, where we had our first interaction with. And post that, he has been consulting with the World Bank, doing a lot of work in the area of financial inclusion. Today, he is also at the helm of technology revolution in the banking and financial sector and doing advisory for several organizations in that area. He is also advising NAFCUB on the umbrella organization, the business strategy, the fundraising strategy, and a lot more to come. We will learn a lot from him. We also have Mr. Anurag Srivastava, who is the CEO of Uttar Pradesh Urban Cooperative Banks Federation. He is again a noted luminary from that sector who has been constantly taking efforts to bring the smaller banks to the fore and trying to see how the inclusion of the cooperative banks can be taken to the next level. We may have a couple of more people joining, and along with that, we also have Mr. P.K. Arora ji. Mr. P.K. Arora is the former CGM in charge of the Reserve Bank of India, and he has been a noted supporter of the cooperative banking sector. He is working very closely with the NAFCUB in the area of umbrella organization, and he also guides the organization on how to follow the path of compliance and how to make the right moves when it comes to being with the regulators and also create a better collaboration between the regulator and the sector. Last but not the least in this sector is Mr. Satish Uthekar in this conversation. He is the former CEO of TJSP Bank. But apart from being a CEO of a bank which he turned around from a 2000 crore organization to a 10,000 crore organization, he has been a noted luminary in training the sector into leadership in the cooperative banking sector, innovating newer ideas, newer businesses, and he is now consulting a lot of banks apart from being a trainer and a consultant in this sector. Welcome everyone to this wonderful conversation of cooperatives jointly held by NAFCUB and Banking Frontiers as a part of our 7-year-old association where year on year we host this wonderful roundtable with the NAFCUB. Welcome everyone. To start off with the session, I would request Mr. Jyotindra Mehta to share a presidential address. Mr. Mehta, we look forward to your thoughts.
Hi everybody. Uh, I'm bullish about this thing that we are meeting in such a situation that otherwise we used to meet and celebrate. It was kind of celebration. FCBA award function was a kind of celebration, but this time it's virtual celebration. So all legendary speakers and panelists are there. We are meeting in such a time that since last 1 year, so many changes have come. Either it is in BR Act or Reserve Bank regulations. So so many changes have come, and lot many things are to be discussed amongst cooperative workers and leaders. Uh, just now, Trends and Progress report has come out, and that is also eye-opening. But I will request Babu that we should deal in that also. We need to understand the trend and progress between the lines. Uh, and as always, banking has been remain in front line, such as doctors and nurses. They are frontline warriors. So bankers are also frontline warriors. And banking frontier is also frontline in the front line of the banking sector. So I congratulate Babu and Manoj and FC organizers of FCBA award that hope that banking frontier will remain in front line and collecting all the data and educating the people. Once again, I congratulate Banking Frontier and all the panelists. I welcome all the panelists that this session will be an enlightening session for the cooperative workers. Thank you.
Thank you very much, sir, for your encouraging words. And we look forward to a lot more insightful conversation today. May I now request upon Mr. V.S. Das to start off the session with his wisdom on what is the road ahead for umbrella. We have spoken a lot about umbrella. We have seen it coming. We have waited virtually for it to happen. And now the time has come with the approval. Now let us also know where are we heading towards. Sir, it's your call to take it off forward from here and share with us what is the road ahead now. Please unmute yourself, sir.
So thank you very much, Mr. Babu Nair. And here I am for the umpteenth time speaking on the same subject, umbrella organization, which I've been doing since the year 2007. It's been 13 years now since the idea of the umbrella started. But a lot has happened during these 13 years, especially in the last 5-6 years. And here I am again with yet another presentation on the umbrella. But this presentation is coming at a stage when the birth of umbrella is actually taking place. And here is where my presentation begins. Don't worry, I will not take long. And as you have suggested, I shall now, can you see the screen?
No, that's it.
Okay, just a minute. I have to share it with you.
Yeah.
Be comfortable, don't worry.
Just 1 minute, I'll do it again. Okay, now do you see it?
Yes, it is coming.
Yeah, but I have to see it also, na?
Yeah, it will come. It will come.
Actually, I'm not able to see my screen.
Don't worry. If it does not work, I will put it on. Don't worry. It came on when you did it.
Are you all seeing it?
No, Dasar. This time it has not come.
Okay, I'll do it again.
Yeah. So we've all become digital. This is the learning. We've all become digital, but our digital tools are yet to keep up with our, you may call it networks, or with the requirements that are there.
Okay, now you are able to see it?
Yes.
Great. So, this is the starting point. Now, there has been a lot of talk of the umbrella organization, even in the latest report on trends and progress of banking, where a strong case has been made by the RBI for the formation of an umbrella organization in the larger interests of the sector's stability, soundness, and giving a fillip to public confidence. This picture that you see on the screen is actually very important. It is showing the emergence of a green shoot, and you see this small sapling, and below that you see some money also. So therefore, the umbrella is being born, and what now needs to be done is to find the resources to make it grow, and those resources have to be of various types. The most important resource that we now need is to organize funds for raising this organization. This is a very general slide about an umbrella organization, what it is. You can just glance through it, but I'm sure you all know what it is, so I won't spend much time on this. Similarly, these are the obvious advantages of having an umbrella organizations. By various industries like to have an umbrella organization because they release economies of scale, there's synergy, you have a pool of resources which you can share, and more importantly, a sense of community and support. And you are creating a brand and public awareness about that brand. India is an outlier. While all the other countries which have credit unions have an umbrella organization, we don't. And therefore, there is a dire need for us with 1,539 banks to have an umbrella organization. You have umbrella organizations across continents in North America, in Australia, in Europe, in North America, Canada, and USA most prominently. In Europe, various countries such as France, Belgium, Netherlands, Poland, all of them have umbrella organizations, and so does Australia. Now, this is where I need to concentrate more by updating you on the developments that have taken place in the bringing up of the umbrella organization. And here's just a snapshot. It all started, as you know, in 2006, when there was a Viswanathan working group which was formed to find out ways whereby cooperative banks could raise their capital. And while they did come out with some instruments, what they said was that actually you need an umbrella organization to do this work for the sector. And umbrella organization would also enhance public confidence. Then, since their working group had suggested that RBI should form a separate group on the subject, so a working group where I had the privilege of being the chairman was constituted, of which one of our members was Mr. Mehta, who's present with us. And then you had a senior committee headed by Mr. Maligam, a high-level committee, which also went into this. But let me tell you that the most important committee which has done work on the umbrella organization happened to be the one that I chaired, which gave out a very comprehensive plan of what the umbrella should do. And in 2013, as if you recall, RBI had advised all state federations and NAFCUB to start playing the role of an umbrella organization which would render only non-fund based services to member banks. Another landmark or a milestone was the setting up of a steering committee by NAFCUB at the behest of RBI. That committee too was chaired by me, and therefore there was a propensity of this company to resonate the same recommendations that were made by my own working group in 2009. And sorry, I'll just go back. Yeah. So in 2019, after our steering committee of NAFCUB had given its report and NAFCUB board had also approved all the recommendations, the matter was referred to RBI, and RBI took their time to examine all the recommendations. And finally, in February of 2019, Governor of RBI in his midterm policy announced that RBI would encourage the formation of an umbrella organization for the sector. The regulatory approval for this came on 6th of June 2019. This was a D-Day actually for World War II, but this is the landmark day when we received approval for setting up of the organization, umbrella organization for the urban cooperative banking sector at a national level. But the RBI approval was quite detailed, and it told us various things about the structure of the organization, how much capital it should have, what should be the equity contribution, how it should be managed. So as far as structure is concerned, they suggested a non-deposit taking NBFC structure, where subscription to capital would be made on a voluntary basis by UCBs, and that the umbrella organization will offer services only to those UCBs who are shareholders. Why an NBFC? Because an NBFC, being a company, can go to the market to raise capital and to raise debentures, which an urban cooperative bank cannot. And therefore, this would act as a vehicle for garnering capital for the urban cooperative banks. The RBI was quite categorical in stating that since we are creating an organization which will be providing a lot of fund-based services to the sector, it should have a paid-up capital of not less than rupees 300 crores. So this is mandatory. In order to get a certificate of registration for the NBFC and to commence the business, the umbrella must have an equity paid-up capital of not less than 300 crores. This is mandatory. Now, there was earlier a lot of encouragement that we got from the articulations by very senior people from NCDC, that NCDC would be very interested in participating in the umbrella organization. And they had given some indications that they would be willing to contribute up to 200 crores for the umbrella. And they would be extending other services, infrastructure, facilities, etc. But RBI also thought that while NCDC could certainly participate in the umbrella, at the same time, umbrella should not be controlled by the NCDC per se, and they should, through memorandum and articles of association, we should restrict their control to, in some sense, so that this organization can work independently of NCDC, even though they have a lion's share. As of now, let me tell you, it is not uncertain as to how much they will contribute, or even if they will contribute, and what will be the nature of their participation. So essentially, we have to fend for ourselves, and therefore we will have to do it hand in hand and in a spirit of solidarity. As far as the management of CEO, the intention of the RBI clearly is that this should be a very professional company, very professionally managed. The CEO should be a thoroughbred professional. The board should have professional independent directors, and RBI has prescribed that of the total number of directors, at least 50% of the directors have to be independent professional directors, and this should be ensured through the articles of association. But they have also said that while members from the sector should also be given seats in the board so that they are properly represented, subject to RBI's fit and proper criteria. Now, naturally, when you talk of a company, you have to talk of a business model. Where are we going to get the funds from, and how those funds are going to be applied, and where are the profits coming from? Where is the money coming from? All these things have to be seen. So the RBI has said that the umbrella can actually mobilize deposits from urban cooperative banks, but they have to be in conformity with the provisions of the RBI Act and the directions that RBI has issued thereunder and rules under Companies Act. Fortunately for us, since these are shareholders and the deposits are being raised from shareholders, they qualify as exempted borrowings. They're not considered as public deposits. So we can accept public deposits from UCBs, which will not be deemed as public deposits. So we are within the ambit of the RBI requirements. The other source of fund is also through raising of loans from urban cooperative banks, from banks and financial institutions, just like any other NBFC. And also through market borrowings. Since it's a company, it can go to the market to raise bonds and NCDs. Plus, it can get refinanced from other financial institutions like NABARD, for instance, or some such other development financial institutions, even RBI, who knows. How are the funds to be applied? Well, like any NBFC, you can extend loans and advances to your members. You can provide refinance facilities. You can give liquidity support against SLR securities through repo. And you can extend capital support to UCBs also by entering into a memorandum of understanding with them and binding them to certain obligations, as is done in other countries also. And let me tell you that all over the world, this is what umbrella organizations are doing. In fact, much more than this, they actually work as banks. So hopefully, if we can get our act together, if this umbrella takes off well, who knows, in another 4 or 5 years, it might be a big bank itself, like Rabobank or Credit Agricole, etc. There are other important functions as well, like the umbrella has to act as a self-regulatory organization and perform the role and functions of an SRO as may be assigned by RBI. It can also provide consultancy in various spheres like funds management, asset liability management, capacity building, research and development. And surely the umbrella is going to have a very strong training wing also, which will undertake research and capacity building in member banks. There is some kind of apprehension in the regulator's mind that, look, this could be an area where there could be conflict of interest among the stakeholders, particularly what if a bank is on your board and that bank wants to borrow from the umbrella organization. There's clearly a conflict of interest. So this conflict of interest resolution has to be, the principles of this conflict of interest resolution have to be specified in the memorandum and articles of association as per the RBI approval. And they have said separate approvals, NOCs, are to be obtained from respective regulators, which could be SEBI or anyone else, wherever required for undertaking various activities. SEBI, IRDA, any other organization from whom you require approval, that has to be taken specifically. So these are broadly the functions that RBI wants the umbrella to perform. These are all generic functions, Your business model has to conform to this. So, as probably Mr. Raja Debnath will also brief us, he has prepared a very nice business model for the proposed umbrella, but all the activities that they are proposing there have to fit into this approval. Now, here are the developments. As I told you, we can see a green shoot that has emerged in the form of Apex Finance and Development Company Limited, which was incorporated in March 2020 as a public limited company. And presently, you have three directors. Mr. Mehta is present here. He's one of the directors. Then Mr. H.K. Patil, who's the chairman emeritus of NAFCB, he's there. And Mr. K.K. Sharma, who is in the Punjab Federation. He's also one of our esteemed members. And there is, of course, now, in view of the RBI requirement, we have to induct 3 independent directors, and which will, I believe, the onboarding process is on, and soon a decision would be taken in this respect. More importantly and happily, earlier, even the steering committee had suggested that the umbrella should be called National Cooperative Finance and Development Corporation Limited. And this suggestion was very welcomed by NAFCB and by its directors. And we had initially applied for this name, but because of certain words used in this name, like cooperative, cooperation, and national, it was turned down because it required the specific approval of the concerned central government department. The matter was taken up with various concerned ministries, and eventually Ministry of Corporate Affairs gave us an in-principle approval for the preferred name. So the board of the company and its general body has approved the new name for the company, and an application has accordingly been made to the registrar of companies for this name. RBI, and this is very important, earlier there was some hesitancy on the part of certain UCBs, and correctly so, that how would they put in their money in the umbrella organization's equity in the wake of restrictions on their non-SLR category investment, which was subject to certain ceilings. We took up the matter with RBI, and they have been good enough to waive this requirement for UCBs contributing to the umbrella's capital. So this has been done. So now UCBs are free to invest any amount in the umbrella.
Sir, just a moment. Sorry to interrupt you.
Can we take up the questions after my presentation?
Okay.
Because Raja has given me,
Please carry on.
NCDC. Now, since NCDC, they were initially involved in the whole process, we have apprised them also of the developments, and we want to initiate a dialogue with them as to how they would like to associate with the umbrella. We'll try to see if we can get some money from the equity. As I showed you in the first slide itself, money is required. If the plant is to grow and turn into a tree, you need the money. So therefore, we are in touch with NCDC. Mr. Raja Debnath, who represents Cogence Labs, has done an excellent job in suggesting a very comprehensive business model for the umbrella organization. We've had a lot of discussion on that, a lot of modifications have been made. And the bottom line is that whatever business model the company has to be approved by the board, and it has to be in conformity with the RBI approval. Now, this is very important, the last bullet. We envisage the umbrella itself to be highly anchored on information technology, not just technology, but also the latest technology. And it should be a leader in that. It should be in a position to provide standard information technology platforms cloud-based or not cloud-based, to the rest of the sector also. It should be a brand. Everyone should want to have this kind of application software from the umbrella, and that will bear a stamp of authenticity. It would be respected and 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 uh, 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 and have credibility even in the eyes of the regulator. So therefore, we are aiming at this. We have ambitious plans. Raja has a lot of dreams, and he has a lot of suggestions in this regard. And not Raja, yeah. And then, most importantly, this company can also offer digital products to member banks. This would also be a source of income. What are the main challenges and tasks ahead of us? One is, of course, we have to raise 300 crores. We told RBI, look, we don't want to do that initially. What happens if supposing we garner 300 crores and you don't give us the approval? So fine, they said you could raise less. We'll give you in principle approval in the beginning, but the registration will be done and you'll be allowed to commence business only when you have 300 crores in place. Now, what is the initial challenge? The initial challenge is to raise at least that much that is statutorily required for the registration in NBFC. The minimum net owned funds should be 2 crores, but you also need to have headroom for various preliminary expenses and also, payment of fees, director sitting fees, etc. So therefore, in their wisdom, the board of the company has decided, let us at least to begin with raise 9.5 crores to be in a position to make an application to the RBI. Where are the 300 crores coming from? Well, we have to be prepared to get it mainly from the sector. Let us not depend only on NCDC or any other agency. Basically, this is the sector's umbrella, and the sector itself should try their best to garner the funds for themselves. It's a huge challenge, but I'm sure Mr. Jotin Mehta and his team members under their stewardship should be able to pull it off. This is a formula that has been adopted for raising of funds. Each bank would be contributing 10 paisa per rupees 100 of its asset size. But for banks which have a large asset size in the scheduled banks category, the large ones in like your Saraswat, SVC, etc., 10 paisa per rupees 100 may be too much and disproportionate. So for them, for such banks, there will be an appropriate cap on their contribution. And as I mentioned, NCDC has already been asked to give their support. Search for professional independent directors, it's already on. I believe this would crystallize in another few days. And once the funds are available, 9.5 crores, we will be making an application for registration of NBFC. Then you'll have to think of appointing the key managerial persons such as CEO, company secretary, CFO, like all companies have. So similarly, this umbrella will also have to have. And Mr. Raja will help us in bringing up the necessary operational verticals, which will be put up in stages. I mean, we won't do everything at the same time. It has to be a very modular process where block by block, we build up the organization brick by brick. And then very important, staffing will have to be done when adequate funds are available. Umbrella will definitely be welcome and for the sector and will benefit the sector in various ways. Particularly the small banks, the unit banks, the tier 1 banks, they will have a lot of value in the sector. What about value for the big banks? If you read the trend, the report on trends and progress in banking, the governor in his perspective and later on the report itself is saying that there is a dip in public confidence in the UCB sector. And the UCB sector has banks of all sizes. if there's a dip in the public confidence in the sector, then even the biggest of the bigger banks will not be getting the public support. So therefore, and why is the public support not coming in? Because there is a general perception that there's less of professionalism, less of transparency, less of regulation with respect to this sector. There's less of technology absorption. That is why it's not coming. And it is manifesting, as the report itself says, in deceleration of public deposits, which is more steeper than the deceleration that is happening in the scheduled banks. So therefore, the bigger banks will have to understand that their reputations are inextricably linked to the reputation of the sector. If one bank goes down, it impacts the reputation of the entire sector, the big, medium, and small. And you see, everyone has to go through a business cycle. It cannot be a smooth sailing for even the bigger banks. Every business cycle has ups and downs, and in bad days such as these days, when the asset quality is under pressure, and RBI is projecting that down the line, there will be a build-up of NPAs. I'm sure that the cooperative banks are not going to escape that, and they will need more capital to withstand and absorb their growth in NPAs. So this is where an umbrella organization will benefit the sector. Umbrella organizations don't allow their members to fail, as has been vindicated even under the global financial crisis, where banks went down, but no credit union went down. So therefore, this is a shield. And going forward, we should have a cross-guarantee system like you have in Australia, where all banks contribute to a corpus, which is a kitty. And if any bank is in trouble, the money is drawn from this kitty. Gujarat had some kind of an arrangement.
Sir,
like this.
We will have to.
I'm done, Mr. Babu.
Yes.
It's just one. This was the last slide, and I will abide by your discipline.
Thank you.
I have covered almost everything, so everyone can lean on the umbrella in bad times. So conclusion, I conclude by saying the UO will be a game changer for the country. It will be a great help in restoring confidence of depositors and public in the UCB sector. It is likely to change the mindset of the regulator, the government, towards the UCB sector. Right now, there are negative perceptions, but this could change if you have an umbrella organization, which is an SRO, which supplements and supports the regulatory role of RBI.
Fantastic.
And it will be an affirmation of cooperativeness and cooperative spirit, and cooperativeness of corporates will be maintained. Thank you very much. A well-run umbrella organization is the need of the hour.
Thank you very much, sir.
Thank you very much.
You have opened the umbrella for all of us. Now let us try to see how much of rain we can withstand with this umbrella, and try to see what the sector feels about it. I will ask separately the questions to different ingredients of the, this entire ecosystem of cooperatives. Mr. Utekar, can we have you on the, on the camera also? Meantime, let me just ask, Anurag Srivastava ji, you had one question to ask. Let us have a quick run of your question.
Once it is being envisaged that the urban cooperative banks have to invest in the capital or deposits with the umbrella organization, and the limits have been waived. Tell me, will this investment fall under the purview of income recognition also? Because if the banks pay money on one hand and they are asked to provide in case the returns don't start coming in immediately, then the entire purpose will be defeated, and there will be a hesitation on part of banks to investing in the umbrella.
No, while I have an answer to your question, but I think Mr. Arora is raring to go on this, so I'll pass it on to him.
Arora ji, your take, please.
See, as far as application of IRAC norms is concerned, because it is NBFC by definition, so all IRAC norms are applicable to it. But in this case, mere fact that a dividend is not paid in 1 or 2 years does not mean that it will become a NPI, that is non-performing investments, because the amount of dividend cannot be treated as amount due, as in the case of NPS. So unless the amount is due, it cannot be categorized as NPA if it is defaulted. So in this case, initially there may be some period where the dividend is not declared by the NBFC and not paid. So it will not fall under the category of NPA, but in the long run, yes, in case it has to be subjected to classification as per the IRAC norm.
I think, sir, a clarification from RBI on this norm will help a lot, because banks will be hesitant in investing.
No, see, the RBI has approved this in writing, you know. They have written a letter to NAFCAP clearly stating this. Now, NAFCAP can issue a circular, but we are also asking RBI to also issue a circular to banks.
If I may, I think what Mr. Anurag is saying, it has to be broken down, this question, into two parts. The first part is with regards to investment in terms of capital. And second is in terms of loans which they are giving to the NBFC. Mr. Anurag, I think that's the way you would want to have an answer.
So, loans will be subject to the same IRAC norms.
No, so what Mr. Arora said is absolutely, he answered the question on the capital part. That yes, it's the dividend part will not be taken, that's not an issue out there. If dividends are not paid, because that's income which is yet to be received. So there's no NPI out there. Whereas when it comes to the loans, if you give loans to the
Umbrella.
Apex umbrella and the umbrella defaults, you will still have to report it. So RBI is not going to say that because you're given money as a loan to umbrella, you can money can go down the drain.
Yeah.
Mr. Anurag, I hope I've answered your question now.
Yeah.
You have answered my question very correctly. You have answered my question. My apprehension is, once bank make deposits and invest in capital, and then they are asked to provide for it, it will be a very bad situation.
I agree, but break it up into two. If they provide capital, the capital is not going down. The question is not on the capital. Your question is absolutely right when it comes to the bank providing loans to the umbrella.
See, it is in both ways. The regulation and supervision is equally applicable to the umbrella organization also. So, the IRAC norms have to be applicable to an umbrella as an NBFC as well as to the banks. So, and both are deploying funds with each other. So, it could be NPA here also and it could be NPA there also.
So, a loan is a loan. If you're giving a loan to any entity, if it goes bad, so one has to make a provision for it.
Correct.
Yeah.
Fantastic. Let's go to the next question. Uttekarji, you have been, he is facing some technical issues on the camera front, but Uttekarji, you have been the CEO of a leading cooperative bank. From a cooperative banker's perspective, if somebody is looking at these, the kind of investments into the umbrella organization, how does it appeal to you as a CEO, and what do you think the assurance you would like to do to, support this entire initiative?
Thank you, Babu. Hi, everyone. See, as a cooperative banker, I will certainly go for investment in umbrella organization for two more reasons. One is that this is really a revolutionary step and much needed for a cooperative sector. See, cooperative sector as such, because of maybe having a lot of players into it, and the size of these players are such a small size, they cannot afford to be on a updated technology platform. They don't have expertise or the experienced people with them. Then the funds management and fund investment or the liquidity management these are major issues. If you see the umbrella organization working in other countries like Europe, Mr. Das has mentioned Europe or other developed countries, you'll see that the local banks are really working well because of the support of the umbrella organization. On that background, if I say what the discussion was going on about the investment in umbrella organization, whether the banks will be really hesitant to put money into it. I think no, the banks will not. It may be on the background of the Apex Cooperative Bank, somebody may be thinking on these lines because it becomes the NPA, and in lot of banks are facing problem. But umbrella organization is totally a different concept. It is going to be a professionally organized NBFC and really working to keeping focus on cooperative sector. As we support umbrella organization, make the organization more stronger and stronger. All cooperative banks coming together. If we make the umbrella organization more stronger and stronger, the reputation of the sector is going to be much better for the investors. Much better awareness will be created, and confidence level will go up. If suppose today my bank is 100 crores, I need not be worried because I have been supported by umbrella organization. That is what is the concept. In fact, the entire sector should understand this concept. And as a cooperative banker, I can assure you, if I am on the seat, I am definitely going to not only invest into umbrella organization, but I'll ensure that the funds invested in umbrella organization will give me a much better returns. That is how we have to look to this particular investment. It is not means if we go through the scope and the functions of this, they are really so wide and supporting me. So I'll definitely go for the investment for umbrella organization.
Fantastic. Thank you very much for a banker's perspective, Utekar sir. And provided that the organization, the first and foremost thing is the kind of trust that the organization can build into the minds of the bankers, with which the effective management of funds and the kind of risk management strategies that would be garnered would probably play a very pivotal role in getting the investments into the organization. Raja, if I may ask you, you have been the one of the architects of this, not the architect, but at least a consultant for this activity. Funds is one of the most important part, and it is like who blinks first. The game that is happening right now. Everyone is trying to look at which bank is putting the money first, whether the government or the governmental organization put it or not. What do you think is the best possibility for the first, the first comer to come in, and then how do the external organizations look at this as a investment opportunity?
Thanks. I would just correct you on one thing. I don't think the banks are right now looking at who will be the first bank, because we have not, as NAFCB, yet reached out to the banks. So that's something which is still
Okay.
pending. So we have already received a lot of interest from banks, as Mr. Utekar was saying. A lot of banks in our personal conversation, because we have personally met many banks. Our board has met many banks, and they have shown a lot of interest in wanting to be a part of this organization. So that's been very heartening whenever we have spoken with bankers on a personal basis. We will be starting the initial fundraise, as Mr. Das mentioned. The 300 is broken up into two. We are doing the first raise of 9.5, which is a very simple raise, and then we will do the subsequent raise. The 9.5 which we will be raising is going to be actual cash which we will take in. The rest 300, we are not taking in the cash, but we will be taking in the commitments for the 300. But we don't require the cash in the bank right now. But we require commitments from the bank in terms of what they would want to put into the umbrella organization. So for both of these, we will start formally now speaking with various banks. The initial money is not a challenge anyway, because even within if you look at the state federations which are there, the state federations themselves and the bankers who are a part of it, I think the understanding is very clear that the first money will come in from most of these bankers themselves. Because they have been, as you rightly said, they have been working at the umbrella for the last so many years. And now is the time to actually put money on the table. So that's what they are doing. We are not worried about that. We are getting a lot of interest from external investors also. So there are external investors not just in India, but multilateral organizations globally who could be interested in actually playing a part in taking India forward. Can I say India forward? Because cooperative bankers and cooperative banks are the heart of India, in so to speak. We are there in the nooks and corners of the country. So they are interested in seeing how the SMEs in the country, how the poor, the downtrodden, how the marginalized sections of society can get access to finance and banking. That's where cooperative banking comes in. And that is the reason why they are also on the sidelines looking to see, the only step which they're looking for is what are the cooperative bankers themselves going to do first. As soon as we have a, a how do you say, a quorum of bankers, a critical mass of cooperative banks themselves, it could be 50, it could be 70 banks, even the small ones, getting together and saying, yes, they put in the money out there, you have external investors coming in. So I do not see raising money that much of an issue. It is for, if I go back to what Mr. Das said, we would want that maximum money should come in from the cooperative banking sector so that the cooperativeness, the ethos of the cooperative sector remains within. And I would implore all the cooperative bankers who are listening to this that please reach out to the board, please reach out to the people that you see here, please reach out to the extended boards, speak with them, get your doubts allayed, because we are very clear in our minds now what we are doing. If this apex body is going to be competing with not just other cooperative banks, in that sense, making them better, the entire cooperative banking sector will start competing with the best banks in India and can think about being competitive at a global level. That's what the assumption is. That's the only way RBI will start looking at us differently.
Mr. Babu, can I share for 30 minutes my
Yeah,
experience in
please,
this?
please, please.
Recently, 2 months before, I was on the board of ICC, Indian Chamber of Commerce USA, and in one of the webinar on banking, I just shared about this idea about umbrella organization. And as Mr. Raja is saying, there are a lot of interest shown by many of the organizations, including Google also, for supporting technology platform. So they like the idea, the business model. When I shared this business model, they said this is fantastic. Means I also personally don't. That is why I said that it will be a good investment for cooperative banks. They should look from a different angle. It is not only a supporting umbrella organization, but they are investing for a good organization is going to be a getting a good yield or the return or appreciation. This is what is. I just want to share you this my experience.
That's a great thing, and you have taken it globally. Is one of the most remarkable things, sir. Thank you very much for that.
Wonderful.
And one of the most important things that I often feel in this entire conversation is the kind of trust that we are going to build. What is it, that trust that we are going to build in about the sector, about the investment? Because ultimately, everyone wants to be sure that his money is safe. Mehta ji, you have been working it. You have been one of the founders of this concept, and you have worked in. You have built it in grounds up. How are we taking it grounds up, where the bankers are involved and building in more and more stronger trust into this mechanism for the bankers?
In a way, trust is not on the organization. Trust should be on the concept. Concept, if they understand the concept, as Mr. Utekar has already spoken, that even Google is interested. So a concept should be. It is now our duty to make them understand this thing, concept, and concept will definitely they will understand, and then see, there are requirement of small banks, there are requirement of different requirement of middle class, mid-sized bank, and different requirement of big banks. So we need to address all the requirements, and if they understand the concept, they will definitely invest. Right now, the awareness campaign is already Mr. Das and Arora and Krishna ji. We all are together since last, even you, since last 5-6 years. Awareness campaign is already there. Now, if we can convince them on concept, it will be done.
Fantastic. Krishna ji, any perspective you want to add into this, especially you are on mute, so you may have to unmute yourself.
Yeah. Can you hear me now?
Yeah, yeah.
See, my first interaction or exposure to this kind of aggregation of small units and having a apex kind of umbrella was with Rabo Bank. I had gone there, seen what Rabo is and the units how they function. Similarly, there I saw it in Finland, I saw it in Germany. Now, and in France, in every one of these countries, the apex organization in many cases is a holding company having a bank and so many other things. And every country I have seen is that this is the one of the biggest financial institutions in that country, and their papers are all AAA rated, and they do international functioning. So the whole scenario of cooperative banks doing things and all is totally different. So it has to succeed. The only thing is that yes, there are even some of the big banks and all, when they ask what is in there for us, how are we to see how risky it is and all. I mean, these apprehensions have to go. Okay. I mean, to the banks, they have to say that, okay, 10 paisa per 100 asset and whatever is the amount, you just take that, you're taking a risk. You're taking a risk in lending to somebody. So this will be much more worth taking than any other big corporate lending.
I agree with you. Interesting
So,
perspective.
and as very nicely put by both the Das, I mean, Das and Mr. Raja, as far as now you see, there are so many things that are happening. Farm sector, uh, people want that cooperatives should deal with the big corporate. Uh, farmers should not deal all alone. These things are all pointers towards cooperatives playing a much bigger role. And if in the cooperative credit sector, if we have a solid big organization, it's going to help. It's a win-win situation. The only thing is the banks have to take a first step towards it and take interest, particularly the top 50 banks. That's what is my feeling. And
Yes,
I
I
have
think Mr. Babu.
Yeah.
No, I just want to say that, very interestingly, even the Trends and Progress report on banking is saying that the dip in confidence in the sector is clearly visible amongst the scheduled banks, in the urban cooperative banking sector, where deceleration of deposits is much higher than the other cooperative banks. You see, so if you're looking at the big 54, the deceleration in their deposits is much more steeper than the deceleration in the deposits of other urban cooperative banks. So therefore, I feel that the bigger banks have a huge stake in this umbrella. And one of the purposes of this umbrella is to actually bring up the public confidence, the confidence of the depositors in the sector.
I agree with you. And I think this confidence booster is much more necessary for the sector to bring that much required trust, which has been decelerating over quite a lot of years, especially with the kind of number of UCBs which are decreasing in terms of numbers. The other facilities like insurance and all, do you think insuring some of the loans or things like that, which are definitely happening globally by the banks for all their SME loans or something, or various other corporate loans and things like that? Do you think it will help a lot more to, provide a little stronger risk-free atmosphere into the umbrella organization. Any take on it, Raja or Dasa? Yeah, Arora sir, please.
See, if it is a collective effort, we can always approach the regulator to change the policies. As of now, individually, they are not fulfilling the eligibility criteria of availing different, credit facilities, maybe government schemes and refinance facilities from refinancing institution like NABARD or SIDBI and all. And even for credit guarantee also, these small banks are not eligible because their eligibility criteria is on a very high side. Once the umbrella pitches in and protection is available to these organizations, through umbrella also we can make them eligible to participate in all these schemes and go for all type of credit dispensation.
That's a very interesting observation. I think you get a lot more bargaining power with the kind of umbrella support that you have.
It is not only with refinancing institutions. I think as an SRO, the regulator RBI will also have a comfort level with the banks, and the public confidence will increase.
Interesting. It is like even in the microfinance, if you see the lot of self-help groups coming there, the kind of confidence that the lender has in this microfinance when there are an association of people coming together or association of organizations, that gives a better confidence to the people who are giving the loans also. Great. I think we have had a fantastic conversation. Sir, you wanted to make any point? Yeah. Yes.
Actually, see, Mehta also will there. So we have been talking to MSME ministry and the finance ministry and others to include the credit guarantees that are given by CGT, SMA and all at the same level to cooperative banks as they give to the scheduled commercial bank. But then they have they have given that only those which are having 750 crores deposit plus having these things will be eligible. Notwithstanding MSME ministry themselves saying that no, everyone should be included. I think finance ministry is still not very comfortable in giving to smaller banks also this 2 crore plus trade guarantee. So it is very important that if an umbrella organization like this is there, then they would definitely look at it in another.
Mehta sahab, anything that you want to share as a closing remark before we begin to the next session?
Not as a closing remark, but I would like to add to some new development that when Honorable Finance Minister announced Atmanirbhar India, there was a scheme that the bank who don't fulfill 40% criteria of priority sector, they can buy this portfolio in form of paper from the public. Now, if umbrella is there, or even without umbrella, this small bank are flooded with this priority sector lending only. So we are sitting on a gold mine. Only we need to have a good education to this small bank. Just yesterday in our board of Gujarat Urban Cooperative Bank Federation, we had a very good figures of Gujarat Bank that we are required to lend to priority sector up to 40%, but most of the bank are having 80% in priority sector. So they can sell that portfolio. Umbrella can come to rescue them, and this will be one of the added income. So umbrella clothing, umbrella is the need of the hour. It will be game changer, And you need to understand the concept and not anyone who is sitting there is not a problem, because Reserve Bank has already put stipulation that it should be a very well governed, professionally governed institution. So we are in search of good professionals also. They will come and take over. Thank you.
Fantastic. I think one of the most important thing in the cooperative sector is to induce younger blood into the sector and bring more professionals into the sector, which can actually, create that up that trust factor and the participation factor into the cooperative banking sector. Thank you very much, sir, for that interesting insight. We have few more questions that we would quickly take one by one regarding the sector now, moving away from the umbrella into the other areas, important areas that are there. So one of it is RBI needs to take views of the sector while implementing various provisions of the amendment and in making changes in regulation without diluting the cooperative character as well as their democratic function. So how interestingly has it been happening, and what is the sector trying to do now to make sure that the regulator can probably make a stronger enrollment of the sector now? Umbrella is one such definite possibility. Any views, Mr. Krishna, on this?
Yeah, you see, this Banking Regulation Act amendment which has come about, and it has, that section 56, which was originally made in 1966, it took into account so many factors of the cooperatives having a certain cooperative character and cooperative values. And taking that into account, the section 66 was introduced, and section 66 says how we should read the entire Banking Regulation Act in respect of cooperative. So there was almost 2/3 of the Banking Regulation Act was not made applicable to cooperative banks at all. There's so many clauses that were there which removed them. Now, over the period of time, Reserve Bank has always been saying that we do not have requisite powers to give them so much of freedom and all those things. So ultimately, I think the government really said, okay, we will remove all these things. So 27 clauses were removed, which barred cooperative banks from being regulated the way. Now, after this amendment, the entire Banking Regulation Act is more or less applicable to the cooperative bank. Now, but the Banking Regulation Act are essentially made for companies, banking companies. So there are so many things that are applicable to banking companies which are not applicable to cooperatives, are now made applicable to cooperative banks also. And cooperative banks are feeling that the cooperative values, cooperativeness, and cooperative principles, and also the democratic character will be under pressure because of the regulation. And from National Federation, they have written a letter to the Finance Ministry saying that these things we apprehend, and that it should not go. Interestingly, the Finance Ministry has forwarded this letter to the RBI and saying that please look into it. Now, from National Federation also, they have they have said that these things should not happen. But what I want to say is that some years back, the CAB had done a study on cooperativeness of cooperatives among cooperative banks, and they found that so many cooperative values are not being followed by cooperative banks themselves. Things like, general body at the meetings, then the board, how they are, there's so many things. Now, what we have to be very vigilant and we have to be prepared is that the cooperative bank, I mean, Reserve Bank of India will ask, why are you getting scared of our getting powers and which will stifle your cooperative values? First, you become a cooperative properly in full-fledged way. Then you come to us for.
Excellent. Great. Thank you, sir. Thank you for that remark. Now, see, we have been seeing a whole large scale of, consolidation of the urban cooperative sector. While consolidation of the sector is important, especially to weed out any, any of the, wrongdoings in the sector, things like that. But there is also another perspective to look at it, that large scale consolidation of the small urban cooperative banks should not be carried in such a structure that it dissolves the entire it dissolves the entire structure of the cooperative segment, as the sector has an important role in the economy. Any thoughts on this one? Maybe Arora sir can share from the regulator's perspective, and maybe either Anurag ji or Satish ji can share from a cooperative sectors. A very quick one, just a 1 minute.
If I am permitted for a moment, sir.
Yeah.
If you merge cooperative banks, the cooperative character doesn't go away. It continues. It continues from a smaller entity to a larger entity. So that really should not be seen as a threat. In fact, if there is some kind of consolidation that happens, it will help the sector. Every day we see some bank or the other going down. I mean, there are various reasons to it. Let us not go into it. But if the sector emerges stronger by way of consolidation, let it be so. Let the sector be important. The number is not so important. The activity is important. The character is important. And if we are able to maintain the activity and the character, the sector is bound to do well.
Fantastic. As a regulator, what do you feel, Arora ji?
See, as far as regulation is concerned, it has a regulatory cost if the more are the numbers. As simple as that. RBI has been putting in lot of efforts. You will not believe the amount of regulatory resources which are put in to supervise and regulate the cooperative sector is almost equivalent to the commercial banking sector, where the market share is almost 70% as compared to 3.5% in the cooperative sector. So this is another facet of the problem, that in terms of cost, regulatory resources are being wasted in the country. But at the same time, if the units are viable, then there is no reason that they should be compelled to go in for consolidation or merger. We have seen in the past that yesterday I was reading that almost 385 banks have exited from the sector, out of which 136 have been merged in the country, right? And majorly they are in Maharashtra and Gujarat and Karnataka states. But at the same time, if the unit is viable and if they are doing well and they are contributing to the economy of the district as such, then I think there is no reason that they should be compelled to consolidate.
Great.
I agree. As far as the well-run banks are concerned,
yes, sir.
And you'll be happy to know that the report itself is pointing out that 95% of the banks are being run properly.
Yes.
It's only 52 banks out of 1539 which are having some problem.
Yes, sir.
So you have to focus on those 52 and see how they can come up.
Yeah.
But just
I'm
because you are small doesn't mean that you should go out. Yeah, if you're managing your business well, you stay.
Again, here I come back to the setting up of umbrella, because once that is available, the lot of inputs or the assistance in terms of capital support and other professional support that will be imparted to these big banks will also enable them to come out of the morass in which they have been placed. Muting. That's why you're on mute.
You're
I,
on mute.
Sorry.
No, I-
Sorry. So this is one part of it. The other is basically we also have a challenge, especially when it comes to now that the lot of banks are eyeing at getting into the small financial bank sector and converting them into privatization and all that. So how can you encourage urban cooperative banks to remain within the sector rather than get more lucrative and move into the SFB or privatization phrase? What is the kind of pull that you can create for that?
you see, can I say something here?
Yeah.
You see, right now the problem seems to be that all the banks, urban cooperative banks, they are in a standalone mode. That is in the psyche. I mean, they're not in a collaborative mode. You see, so the umbrella will facilitate banks getting into a collaborative mode by having a network. Right now, it's every bank for itself.
Okay.
So that is not helping the sector, neither is it helping those banks.
Yeah, Krishna ji, you have to say something.
You see this issue of cooperative bank, urban cooperative banks being pushed or being lured to become small finance bank. It's a very small issue. You see, hardly one or two or three banks get into this thing. So it's not much of a. After all, if some bank wants to become, let it become. But it's not going to be that there'll be a floodgates will be opened as to many banks want to become small finance banks and that they will not get into it. I think a cooperative bank will remain a cooperative bank. There's no fear for our exodus.
Hey, great. Arora ji.
Yeah. See, I will give a regulatory perspective to it because I was a part of the Gandhi committee where it has been recommended that the larger banks should be converted into private banks. There were reasons at that time because the reasons identified by Gandhi committee are basically 5 and 6. I'll just recapitulate them. The first one was the aspiration of the large UCBs. All the multi-state UCBs and scheduled banks wanted to be at par with the commercial banks. Whereas you see the level playing field for regulatory mechanism was not there at par with the commercial banks at that time. Now, of course, the post-amendment, the scene has been changed. So I will discuss that. Second was about the conflict of interest. Here, the borrowers are the owners in the cooperative sector, whereas the resources are coming from the depositors who do not have any say in the management.
Okay.
Right? Third perspective was the regulatory arbitrage. That because of the lack of level playing field, the cooperative banks were feeling much preferred because they had leverage as compared to the commercial banks because they were not being put to strict regulation and supervision. In the case of cooperative bank, it is just Basel I norms which are applicable. Whereas in the case of commercial bank, it is Basel III. In terms of capital, even some of the characteristics of the capital of the cooperative banks does not fit into the characteristics of the capital as prescribed by Basel III norms. Right? So, and then of course there were limited resolution powers. Once the problem comes, like in the case of PMC Bank, so it is taking more time to bring in resolution for cooperative banks as compared to Yes Bank and Lakshmi Vikas Bank. We have seen they have been resolved within a period of a few days, whereas PMC Bank is still struggling. Then another area, of course, as Krishnaji mentioned, decline in cooperativeness of the cooperative. And last but not the least, there were opportunities for growth in the commercial banking sector. These are the reasons which, with the amendment of the Banking Regulation Act, they have no relevance because the regulatory framework is being brought in at par with the commercial banks. So the regulator seems to have, in fact, lost its ground and there are no relevant grounds for insisting that you must go in for privatization instead of remaining in the cooperative banks.
Thank
The
you.
now ideal situation would be to promote cooperativeness of the cooperative in the within the cooperative sector.
Thank you, sir. That
Yeah,
was
yeah.
a very
Agree.
good one. Jyotindra Bhai.
Yeah. See, this is a very heart-touching subject for me because, say, we are hardcore cooperator and would not like to take part in any decision which leads to privatization. But let me tell you this thing. The RBI came out with circular to convert this cooperative bank into private small finance bank. Now, because of the new regulation, because of the Banking Amendment Act, whether RBI, whether people would like to go there or not. See, there is small finance bank and there is universal bank. So right now we are universal bank. So nobody should go into the smaller thing, which is, I mean, in the name of liability. See, they speak that we need liberty, but internally they want ownership. So those who wanted to eat away the cooperative this thing and into private thing, they will go to privatize the bank. And one more thing, you must have heard about the Mumbai incident that one of the Mumbai-based bank, they were to pass resolution into general board, and some cooperative leaders, including Mr. Anaskar, went there and they said, हाथ जोड़ो विनंती पत्र. उनके साथ वहां वो एजीएम के बाहर खड़े रहे और हाथ जोड़ो करके सबको they tried to make them understand that cooperative culture is different and private, the entire thing which has been inherited legacy of cooperativeness must be retained. So this kind of emotional things are there, but those who really wanted to put everything in their pocket, they will go for privatization.
Mr. Babu, can I share my
Yeah, please, sir. Please.
Yeah, this particular topic is really very interesting. Since when the Reserve Bank of India has come out with this directive and they were drafting this for the privatization, many of the banks, you know the name of the bank, the big bank, they wanted to become a private banks and all. But small finance bank, I agree with the two statement, very important statement made by Mr. Arora, is that the cooperative bank should understand cooperativeness and they should follow the principle of cooperativeness. And then second statement is that if it is a viable unit, whatever may be the size, they will remain in a cooperative in a better structure. It's a better structure for this. If I am there with TJSV with 16,000 crores and my aspiration was to take it as a 50,000 crores bank, I'm telling you that I will not go for SFB. I will not go for, because I have a lot of, but yes, maintaining cooperativeness and maintaining the unit within the regulatory structure as a viable unit. There is no need for going for that. That was only a passionate, some of the bankers were putting forward that we want to become a private bank. But yes, and then secondly, with the umbrella organization development, I'm taking this subject to umbrella organization again. If suppose all cooperative bank understand that we create an organization which will support us, a very strong organization. I'm coming again mentioning that it is our responsibility, cooperative bank's responsibility, to make umbrella organization more stronger and stronger, and then ensure that this is the supporting organization. No bank will face any problem. They will have all the facilities available through umbrella organization, including management of business strategies, liquidity management, whatever they say, technology and risk management, everything. If this is followed, I think the local banks, what they are doing in Europe and all, see, they don't want to become a local bank, become a, say, international bank. Now many of the banks started following corporate banking. We are in cooperative. We should understand that we are in the country of which is majority is of the middle class people, and for that the corporate has a huge platform to play. As you know that last month we had a meeting with one BPO. They are handling this IndusInd Bank retail banking portfolio and disbursing 1,000 crores from one channel only every month. Why not cooperative bank? That is our business. And what is the earning they are making? The profitability. I personally feel that we, as a cooperative bank, we have shifted our profitable business to private sector bank and trying to become a corporate banking, which is absolutely we cannot following the cooperativeness principle. So now if you see the Rajkot Bank, they have 70% of the asset below 25 lakhs. How they could survive? This is what is the cooperativeness should be followed, and you should be a viable unit following all regulatory norms, including whatever amendments made in banking regulation. And they are better for the cooperative banks. That is what is my feeling as a professional banker. I'm coming from a private sector, but if you ask me as a cooperative, I feel that there is a lot of opportunities made available on the cooperative bank to take it forward.
And Mr. Babu, can I just make one remark? Briefly,
We
if you
have a
permit.
time constraint, so we will have to quickly do the two remarks and then we will close it. Otherwise, I will have too much of editing to do there.
No, otherwise I'll pass it. Let it be.
Yeah, please quickly make your remarks, sir.
No, I just want to say, firstly, that even if the big cooperative banks want to convert into commercial banks, what would be their position in the list of banks when they become commercial banks? Today they are at the helm. Okay, but by becoming a commercial bank, their position in the rankings may fall down considerably.
Small fish in the big sea.
And
Fully agree,
secondly,
fully agree.
this call for level playing field, I would say that commercial banks are very rigorously regulated, I mean, they come under the Basel III prescriptions, whereas cooperative banks are still under Basel I. It will not be easy for banks to upgrade themselves from Basel I to Basel III. So this is a wrong perception that there should be a level playing field. Right now, you're at a level which is much easier and softer than the level that commercial banks are on. So that is the point I wanted to make, and that should not be a lure for
Mr. Babu, Mr.
going
Das
into
has really made a fantastic remarks. I would request you to take these few words to many of the cooperative banks to understand the privatization is not the field for them. To remain in cooperative is most important.
Fantastic. Krishna ji, your last statement.
Just only 1 second. The basic concept of capital of the cooperative is not fitted into the definition of capital prescribed by Basel III. So how will you comply with the core capital requirements of the bank?
Right.
There is no comparison at all that a cooperative bank can be a commercial bank.
Right.
Even the law is also not permitted.
This is a long argument, and I am sure we can take out this entire day discussing this thing. And I am hearing this since 2007 when I started my cooperative banking awards, and this argument continues. But it is fantastic to listen to it. Krishna ji, any last remark from your side also?
I mean, notwithstanding the fact what I have said, that there is no fear of large-scale mass this thing going to the commercialization. There are two aspects. One is, already Reserve Bank of India has said that by the year 2024 or so, all the urban cooperative banks should have the same kind of portfolio as small finance banks in respect of priority sector lending and 25 lakhs. That we have to do. That apart, what is my little apprehension is that if the regulators encourage that they can get converted into small finance banks, there are a lot of people in industry and all having money. They would like to get this easier route to get into banking and take over some of the urban cooperative banks and become small finance. That the cooperators should be wary of.
Fantastic. Thank you very much, everyone, for your insightful conversation. We have had a very good chat. we definitely, have a lot more to speak about, topics more to speak about, but I think in interest of the time, we may have to reduce it. And that is one thing that the online world has taught us, to be in discipline of conversation and reduce your sessions to the stipulated time, because the technology will not understand the human passion of wanting to speak more and more. So thank you very much, everyone, for this insightful conversation.
We can
Thank
say
you.
that, the umbrella organization is no longer UFO. It's a UO.
Well said.
And one more thing is, if you want to take this sector forward, one of the most important thing is to bring in that required trust, that required participation, that required youth coming into the sector, and trying to see tomorrow. Every cooperative banker should be proud to say that I want my grandson to be the part of my bank. And definitely in a phase where we want to physically meet and take this conversation to the next level every time. Thank you very much, everyone.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Pleasure.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.